Number 7. The bird that remembers yesterday. What makes us the most intelligent species in the animal kingdom? It's our brain, and specifically our memory. We can mentally travel back to a particular moment and relive it. We don't just remember what happened, we recall where, when, and how we felt. This is episodic memory. Reconstructing a past moment requires blending sensory data, emotion, and context all at once. A sophisticated cognitive process directly tied to complex intelligence, which was assumed to be unique to humans. It wasn't until Professor Nicola Clayton discovered that scrub jays cache food across landscapes and remember not just where each item is hidden, but what it is and exactly how long ago they buried it. They know waxworms spoil faster than peanuts, so they return to the worms first before they rot. In a later experiment, after waking up in rooms with no food, the jays began preloading those specific rooms in advance. They weren't acting on current hunger. They were recalling past experiences and taking action to prepare for their future self. Number 6, the gentle giants. It shouldn't come as a surprise that elephants are one of the most intelligent species on the planet. Their brains contain roughly 3 times as many neurons as a human brain, allowing them to feel and process emotions just as deeply as we do. Elephant brains contain von Economoneurons, which are specialized cells linked directly to social awareness, emotional processing, and empathy. And their hippocampus is proportionally larger than ours. So theoretically, they might actually recall and feel more deeply than us. In a 2019 study, researchers documented physical changes in elephants following a matriarch's death, including weight loss, decreased appetite, and disrupted sleep, the same biological symptoms as human grief. Structurally speaking, when elephants mourn the dead, they are experiencing something very close to human sorrow. And despite weighing over 4,000 pounds and having the capability to easily crush us, they are remarkably aware and gentle creatures. Anyone who has ever visited an elephant sanctuary in Thailand will tell you witnessing that level of intelligence and emotion firsthand is a life-changing experience. Number 5, counting without numbers. Counting is fundamental to human cognition that we start teaching to children before they can read. We assume that numerical reasoning, tracking specific quantities and understanding their relationships, was a product of human intelligence and language. But the brain doesn't need words to count, it just needs the right neurons. Researchers recording from individual crow neurons found dedicated cells that fire specifically in response to particular numerical quantities. The exact same type of number-tuned neurons previously discovered only inside the primate brain. Crows and primates last shared a common ancestor over 300 million years ago, and they independently arrived at the same neural solution. These animals can instantly distinguish a tray of 6 objects from a tray of 3 and make survival decisions based on that difference in the wild. Monkeys have neurons tuned specifically to 0, a concept most human children don't grasp until around 4. Crows confuse the number 1 with 0 far more often than they confuse it with 2, which means they represent 0 as the bottom of a number line, exactly as we anchor 0 as the starting point. 2 completely different species separated by hundreds of millions of years of evolution converge to nearly identical counting systems. Math and numbers are truly the language of the universe. Number 4, the mirror test. The ability to recognize yourself as an individual in the world is something most of us take for granted. It underpins identity, self-awareness, individualism, and almost everything we define as intelligence. For a long time, scientists assumed it required the kind of complex neural architecture only primates had evolved. They were wrong about that. To test for this, scientists developed a simple tool, the mirror self-recognition test. Hold a mirror in front of an animal and place a tiny colored mark somewhere on its body that it can only see in the reflection. If it reaches for the mark on itself rather than at the mirror, that animal understands what it's looking at is its own body. For decades, only chimpanzees could pass this. Then bottlenose dolphins, an Asian elephant at the Bronx Zoo. In 2008, a Eurasian magpie, a bird with a brain built on entirely different architecture from any mammal, became the first non-mammal to pass. In 2019, a blue streak cleaner rasa appeared to pass a modified version. What's surprising is that these species share no common ancestor. Their brains evolved on entirely separate paths over hundreds of millions of years. Scientists call this convergent cognitive evolution. Independent species developing self awareness through completely different routes. It proves that self recognition isn't a uniquely human miracle, but a trait developed through evolution. And it's not a matter of if, but when. Number 3, the parrot that understood human words and concepts. Language is the cognitive achievement we point to most often when explaining what separates us from every other species. The ability to label objects, understand abstract concepts, reason about quantity, and communicate symbolically, we treat these as markers of human-grade intelligence. But in 1977, scientist Irene Pepperberg bought a 1-year-old African gray parrot named Alex and spent the next 30 years working together in a laboratory, ultimately producing evidence that shattered the belief that complex language was something only capable by humans. Alex learned over 150 English words and used them correctly in context, identifying objects by color, shape, and material. He understood the concepts of same and different and counted quantities up to 6. When shown a tray with nothing on it and asked how many objects he saw, Alex said, "None," demonstrating a grasp of 0. When he encountered objects he'd never seen before, he invented compound words, calling an apple a banary after already knowing banana and cherry. The night before he died, Alex looked at Pepperberg and said, "You be good. I love you." For the longest time, we assumed parrots were just repeating sounds without understanding them. But Alex proved that even a brain the size of a walnut possesses a level of intelligence we are only beginning to comprehend. Number 2, the Marshmallow Test. Self-control is one of the most studied traits in human psychology. In the 1970s, Stanford psychologist Walter Mischel gave children a marshmallow and told them they could eat it now or wait 15 minutes and receive 2. The children who waited went on to score higher academically, earn more over their lifetimes, and maintain healthier lives. Self-control turned out to be one of the most reliable early predictors of intelligence. In 2021, researchers at Cambridge decided to find out if that connection held true in a cuttlefish. Cuttlefish are soft-bodied mollusks with no spine and a brain that evolved completely independently of vertebrates. Researchers offered every cuttlefish a choice between a less preferred food available immediately and their favorite food after a short delay. Every single one chose to wait, tolerating delays of up to 130 seconds. The results, published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society, also showed that the cuttlefish with the most self-control were the fastest learners in separate cognitive tests. The first documented link between delayed gratification and intelligence outside the primate lineage. A boneless animal with a 2-year lifespan proved that delayed gratification is a universal marker of raw intelligence, regardless of species. Number 1, the octopus that plans. Think about how you prepare for a big exam. You know when the test is, so you break down the material, allocate your time, and follow through on the schedule to give yourself the best chance of success. That kind of forward thinking requires cognitive effort, a trait we treat as a clear sign of intelligence. It's the last thing you'd expect from an octopus, a creature that lives its entire life alone with no parents or social group to learn from. Yet in 2009, researchers filmed a veined octopus collecting discarded coconut shells, stacking them beneath their bodies, and stilt walking slowly across the open sea floor. It accepted an immediate risk to its own safety just to carry a shelter for a future potential threat. So when a predator appeared, they assembled the shells into a shelter. But octopuses don't just plan ahead, they've shown the ability to solve mazes, open jars, and navigate unfamiliar environments. What makes this surprising is that 2/3 of their neurons are distributed in their 8 arms rather than in a head, giving them a decentralized mind completely alien to our own. It proves that high-level intelligence doesn't require a long lifespan, a social hierarchy, or even a centralized brain. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see more.